In fact, iron couldn't have begun in the core of the earth. It couldn't have begun there. Why? Because the sun of our solar system, which is the hottest location in the whole solar system, in its own core, it only reaches, according to their calculation, approximately 15 million degrees Celsius. 15 million degrees. I mean, of course, this is quite hot. However, it is not hot enough to produce iron. The most common element in the universe is hydrogen. And that's number one on the periodic table for those of you that remember your physics and science. That's number one, first element, hydrogen. Helium is number two. And everything else is a combination, fusion of the atoms of hydrogen, helium, to produce the other elements. Iron is way down the line. It's way down the line. It is 56. And as such, the heat which was necessary had to be in the billions of degrees. They estimate someplace around 5 billion degrees to produce iron. So our sun could not produce the iron. So then where did the iron come from? This was a question puzzling researchers. In the 80s, the late 80s, studying stars, they came to realize, of course, that the stars, huge, much greater stars than our stars, did in fact, in their degeneration and their evolution, their development, produce the kind of heat which would produce in fact iron. When they turned into novas and what they called supernovas, then iron was actually produced. They exploded and iron is shot out into the universe in the form of meteorites, etc. Most of the meteorites which hit the earth here, they are made up mostly of iron. So in looking back, scientists then, in the late 80s, they began to examine their view of the development of the earth, and they came to the conclusion that in fact what happened is that the earth, which came off from the evolution of the sun, was like a ball of ash, and that the meteorites hit the surface of the earth, and in hitting the surface of the earth it increased the heat of the earth, because with the impact there's energy released. So meteor showers hitting the earth increased the heat enough to melt that iron, not to produce iron, but to melt that iron. And then it would then sink through the surface towards the center of the earth and became concentrated in the core of the earth. And that's how they explain it now. Hawkins, you can find it in Hawkins' book, as well as his book is called A Brief History of Time. This is one of the biggest atheists out there. He argues against beginnings. There's no beginning and no end. He has a whole set of... He's a crippled individual who's, as I said, one of the leading atheists out there. There's also another book called The First 3 Minutes by Steven Weinberg. Both of them present exactly the same picture of how iron came to the core of the earth. So from that, we have iron actually coming down, as Allah described it. He sent it down to the earth. And of course, it is the most stable element. The bonds which holds its atomic structure together are the strongest bonds of all of the other of the elements. So it does have that ba's shadid. And of course, its benefit is that being and making up most of the core, it produced the basis of the gravitational pull of the earth, which holds the atmosphere and the biosphere around the earth. Without that iron core to produce the gravitational field, we would not have any atmosphere on the earth. No life would survive on the earth. Critical. Furthermore, when you go into human beings, hemoglobin, when you go into plants, chlorophyll, all of these are the essential elements which transform energy from material sources, from the sun, etc., to chemical energy in our bodies which allow the cells to grow and everything. Both human beings and plants iron is essential for their development. And this was described in the Quran some 1,400 years ago. These are among the signs, for those who would reflect that there is in fact a God. One of the problems which people are faced with who end up in a state of atheism, they may have started off traditionally as believers, but then they ended up in atheism because of the issue of what they call evil in the world. Where does the evil come from? And I've had discussions with atheists before, and usually the atheists will come off with these very powerful kind of arguments in the beginning, but when you listen carefully to what they're saying, usually they will end up saying, I'm an atheist because my best friend died when I was a kid. My mother died. Hawkins, I'm born crippled. This is evil. Why? So what appears to them to be evil, this is what has led them to say there's no God, meaning that, as atheists used to argue, or they do argue, if God is all powerful and God is all good, then why is there evil in the world? Because if he's all good, then he must, and he's all powerful, then surely he can create a world without evil. And if he's all good, that's what he's going to create. So the fact that there is evil means, according to them, there is no God. This is the line of reasoning used by many of the atheists. However, one thing needs to be pointed out. Get this point clear. Why is there evil in the world? First, we need to realize that we only recognize things through their opposites. As they say in Arabic, وَبِضِدِّهَا يَتَمَيَّزُ الْأَشْيَاءُ. We don't know sweet unless we know sour. If you don't know what sour is, you can't know what sweet is. You don't know left unless you know right. Left only has validity because there is a right. Similarly with up and down. If there's no down, then up means nothing. This is the reality. And similarly, we only know good by knowing evil. Knowledge of good comes through knowledge of evil. The second point to note is that, yes, Allah is all good, and whatever He has created is good. However, the things which Allah creates, they may be good in and of themselves, that they're purely good. The intent of their creation was good, and the actual thing which is created appears only to be good. There doesn't seem to be anything evil from it. That's one aspect. Then there's another aspect of things which Allah creates, not for itself, but for the good that it causes. Meaning, if you looked at the thing itself, that thing may appear to us to be evil. However, it causes certain good which is far greater than the evil, so Allah created it for the ends, not for the means. And we function like that in our lives. If you go to the dentist, right, and the dentist pulls out that syringe, he's going to give you that shot of cocaine, right, or to deaden your, not cocaine, what do they call it, xylocaine or whatever. They give it to you to deaden your gums. Shouldn't be giving you any cocaine, sorry. Okay? Anyway, xylocaine or whatever, this deadening. Now the needle that they give you, it's about this long, right? You see him, he pulls it out of his tray and he puts the stuff in his, oh my God, that's the worst experience. Nobody can get over it, going to the dentist, okay? Now, we bear it. Why? Because as a result of that pain, of that injection, it deadens the pain and he can extract that tooth. If we didn't remove the tooth, the harm to us was so great